So today I attended a function. I attended a workshop organized here, and it had so many business organizations and religious organizations and other corporations which centered on African investments and how they, because I'll use the word they, because it was a very funny reality today in seeing, like, physically sitting down to be an audience to most of the speakers that spoke at the event. And this event also had a lot of African religious leaders and some of their representatives, government representatives from Africa attended, and a majority of them came solely to assess some kind of funding that comes from some corporations that I believe work with the government or the system, but they pretty much deal with a lot of fundings to African businesses and African churches in particular. Now, one of the keynote speakers in his address, which was very unfortunate, made it clear in summary that the major reason why there are so many churches than schools in Africa, he mentioned Nigeria in particular, and he drew his narratives from the 90s when a lot of African, especially the Pentecostal churches, emanated in Nigeria in the early 90s, and how the fundings that they received were able to shape the Christian evangelism in Nigeria. He made references to so many churches being core participants in the electioneerings of the Nigerian politics, and the emergence of Christians in key positions in Nigeria. So by the time he summed up his address, one thing stood clear, that it has been a consistent policy of whichever organization or whichever corporation to be funding politics in Nigeria in particular through churches. It became clear that the new imperial mindsets of our people as to aligning their minds consistently to Bible narratives as against constitutional understanding, as in understanding their constitution, is as a result of these monies that were being pushed in through the religious sector that now ends up in the pockets of few, while still confusing the people of not understanding their reality. So when you sit down to think through all these things, you will only get to one particular inference, which is the fact that we have a problem. We have a problem. We have a problem of brain drain. We have a very deep problem of neo-imperialism. We have a problem wherein we have been lied to using religion, especially Christianity. And it is evident that a lot of our people, while still being aware or unaware, are also handicapped in changing the narratives, because every particular resources that is used for the suppression and oppression of every black man on earth comes from Africa, especially Nigeria, Congo, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, name it. So, as much as they are funding all these religious organizations to keep drifting the minds of our people out of their land in the name of evangelizing them or civilizing them or trying to take them to heaven and all that stories, the effects of this is that our people's minds are no longer placed on the land, on their resources. It is taken somewhere else. And because it's somewhere else, a lot of other things are happening in their system by electioneering, by policies, economic policies, and political policies, agricultural policies that does not assure food security, educational policies that progresses a pattern where we were all taught, and our children are still being taught with curriculums of the West, thereby preparing them to serve and be useful to the Western economy. So when I saw this today, I was really more concerned, because it wasn't as if it's something that I've never not known. I've been watching these narratives for so many years. But the fact that it was so open, it was commonly discussed without any shame or empathy, to make it boldly clear that these funds are primarily to evangelize Africans and not to decolonize Africans, is worrisome. And it further made it clear that for us to be able to be decolonized as a people, the efforts must come indigenously by Africans, Nigerians in particular, because my major thought line, so the whole time the guy was speaking, I was picturing the town where I was born, because as at then, in the early 90s, when you say 3 a.m., 4 a.m., somebody is already out there with a public address system, shouting on top of his voices, trying to preach and all that. And he will preach until like 8 a.m. And they would be moving up and down in the markets, in the streets, the whole day, continuing on that. The churches are organizing one function or the other from Monday till Sunday. And even up till now, these things are still happening. And our people have never had a break in sinking it down in their mind what had happened between 1899 and 2024. So between 1899 and 2024, we're talking about Royal Niger Company selling the Southern and the Northern Protectorate to the British. 1914, they amalgamated, and the confusion started. Continued. 1960, independence was ushered urgently. Criminals were infused into office, and the war came. 67, coup upon coup after the war. 1999, they brought in their 1999 squad, and the same 1999 squad is arranging this. And what we have seen between that time and now is lesser investments in the educational system in Nigeria, lesser investment in agricultural sector, lesser investment in healthcare, moral degradation, everything on the downward slope. Everything, visually everything on the downward slope. Nothing has ever progressed. And I began to ask myself, I even asked one of, when I went to have a chat with one of the keynote speakers, and I asked him, I said, does it not actually bother you with all this fundings that has been channeled, as you said earlier, to Africa? But when you look at the African system, the African political system, economic and educational system, and nothing has progressed between that 1990s that you mentioned and up till now, does it not really bother you that there has never been any progression, and then but then you guys keep, these fundings are still going on? Have you guys actually sat back to check if truly the intention of all these fundings to all these organizations were genuinely to solve or to salvage the people? Have you guys not really, moved to check why there has never been any organized changes or clear changes? It doesn't even have to be organized. Do you know what he responded? He said, you must understand that ours is to provide the funds. Sometimes we don't really have all the regulatory measures and all that. With this long, big English of checking how these funds are being utilized. And I say, yeah, but at the same time, if you keep pouring water in a bowl, and the more you pour the water, the more the bowl is not, getting filled up. Wouldn't you be interested in seeing if there's a leak under the bowl, or there's something wrong with the bowl, or if what you are actually pouring is water, or is it ethanol that could be evaporating? And he laughed over it. And his, I think it was his PA or his personal, I don't know, rushed him out. So I left. And that ended up informing my mind something, that all these are intentional. There's a gospel music that actually, echoed that more. It's intentional. It wasn't really meant to solve the problem. Rather, these fundings are meant to create more problems. And it is the most dangerous trend that I've seen, especially realizing that as much as we can say a lot of people are paying tithes and contributing money in the name of offering in churches and mosques and all those things, the real funding, the real funnel that channels and encourages these things are not really the worshippers in Nigeria. And if we understand how the true meaning of neo-imperialism, you will understand what I'm talking about. You will understand that people can, very confident people can be very delusional sometimes. And one of the most confident people that I've come across in my journey of life are black people, especially Africans, who think that they understand the real issue, but they are very, very delusional around it. And I'm here to call on anybody who cares to listen, whether you are a black professional, whether you are wherever you come from. If you think and believe that Africans needs to breathe, even if it's for a decade, if you really believe that Africans needs to be salvaged, even if it's for a month, let us try to find a way to galvanize. I say these things all the time because it is not a one-man's pursuit. The most we can do, people like us can do, is to continue to find time, because it's a very difficult procedure to have other things that one needs to do and come online or make videos of this nature to talk about issues of this nature. But talk is cheap. Anybody can talk. Anybody can just pick up the phone and start talking. I don't want to be in that school of thought where it's just about talking, other than having the opportunity for like minds to understand who are these people that is creating these dangerous trends for our unborn children and the little ones. Who are these people that doesn't really understand that some of these fundings that are going down there could adequately be utilized in, first of all, core research of a better curriculum, because it doesn't matter how beautiful a school you can build if the curriculums of those schools are not designed to teach the children of that particular location in their local language, in line with their culture and their cultural philosophies. It is a failure. it's a total waste of time. And in this sequence, I see the same. I see the same. What I mean by I see the same, these things will continue unless something is done. And the more it continues, the more difficult it becomes to untie and undo. So I decided to share this because I couldn't just keep it within me, and I want to call on these people that are sitting on those offices, the government houses, Aso Rock and all that in Nigeria. I know that they already know what is going on, but I want to remind their conscience, I want to remind their minds that it's high time these whole colonial and neo-imperial covert institutions called churches and mosques, schools and government systems are discussed in the Sovereign National Conference, and also call on them again to find it in their hearts, whatever it is that they are still pushing as a narrative, to still be holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in jail, to release him unconditionally. The same thing goes to the Igbo professionals. Amam ihe mere no Ireland Igbo ji believe that all the okay Nnamdi Kanu Karola jail now. I don't know. Ndị ọnụ ruo okwu unu release ya before ya dị too late, because ọ dịghị adị mma. Ama m otu ọ nwere kwuo ya, because the last time ha si na m kparịrị ndị senator. I don't know. But mgbe dimkpa eme ihe o kwesịrị ime, ihe ọhụrụ ya ewere. So that's all for now. Thank you.